Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. Wow, we're at the end of the year. The year is really flown by. I know we've talked about that on a number of occasions, but it's officially the end of the year. So, uh, yeah, kind of amazing to me how fast things have sped up. Uh, we did not meet on last week, so we've had a couple of weeks now. See if you have any questions or anything. I have one observation that I thought was interesting. I was watching the news the other night, and there was a young man who is credited with saving lives in Buffalo during the really bad storm. As you know, we had last week. The weather swept across the country and kind of paralyzed a lot of the country, kind of set things still. But some people were uh, out there in their cars, and the interstate was kind of slowed down. There was no, because of the weather, there's nowhere to go. And this guy uh, finds a school and breaks into the school. And where it's warm and food there, he starts going back out to the cars and gathering people to come to the school. And, I thought that was a good thing, especially since the last time we heard from Buffalo, it was something that extremely bad had happened. So uh, I thought that was something positive and something beautiful. So just kind of start us off with that. But any other questions or comments on anything?
Yeah, I wanted you to say something, Ron, about the weather.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Um,
the we,
we
we
are
are talking,
talking. Hello, Ron.
I can hear you, but you're echoing.
Okay, what about now? Am I
That's better.
echoing now?
No.
Okay, we were talking. We were talking about the weather, and we've seen and heard how detrimental it has been. However, um, I see the detriment, but I also see the positivity and the necessity of it. Yes, there are lives lost, and that's tragic. However, the positivity in it that I see, if you think about it, on the West Coast, they were in extreme drought. Fort Meade was almost dry. And the reason it was is because they were not getting the snow in the mountain that they were accustomed to. However, now they have more snow than they're accustomed to in the mountains, and more is on the way with rain. So when the snow begins to melt in the spring, then those lakes, those streams will be, those rivers rather, will be brought back up to the levels where they were supposed to be. So it appears to me that the earth is replacing the water that the earth has lost, which also says to me that the earth is bringing itself back into balance. And as we have read in the scriptures, it says that our creation was mourning, waiting for our redemption. And I see this as a signal. I see it as a signal that we are on the precipice of seeing. The balance is already available. We are on the precipice of seeing it in action, being manifested in this physical world. We've also experienced extreme cold weather in our area, and we were accustomed to that, and that extreme cold weather will also control the population of mosquitoes and other insects in the spring of the year and summer. So I think that we have to look beyond what our eyes see and see what the eye is showing us. That's pretty much what I want to say about that, unless there are questions.
I don't have questions about what you said. I think my immediate thought was, in the midst of all of that, where the people on this phone, I always think when things stop and pause like that, it's a time for us to reflect who we are, and especially when we didn't meet last week. You kind of everybody was kind of stuck inside, if I can use that term. We and I, it also, as I was talking to somebody at work, gave us opportunity to spend with family members you may not have spent that much time with, because you didn't have opportunity to be out and about doing stuff. So I just agree with that. I think of the very positive thing, and maybe we don't even see all the benefits of it yet. But yeah, thank you.
I just want to add something to that. I totally agree about the weather. I just want to say, I think the one thing we can recognize in that is that there's always an attempt to return to balance, I think. But depending on how far off balance we get, the return is more disruptive and severe. But that kind of depends on us. So I think whatever we face in the future, it sort of always will represent a return or an attempt to return to balance. It's just the severity of that readjustment is determined by us and our collective action, our collective state, and whether or not we are resisting that balance or moving with it.
I agree with that.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Pastor. I thought you were done.
Yeah, I wanted to interject something, if I may. I think that one of the main reasons that we do not see with the eye, especially when it comes to weather patterns, is because we have been conditioned in our religious settings to differentiate between the universe, the earth, and God. What I'm saying is this: there is no connection in religious settings to the universe itself and to God. The universe has been labeled to be heaven, and the earth been labeled as something that is going to be destroyed because it is so evil. When we change our frame of reference and we begin to see what the reality of heaven is according to the scriptures, and what the words mean when we speak of Father, a womb, a universe, when we see what that actually means, and disconnect ourselves from the elementary understandings of religion, we begin to see that our Creator and the universe are one because of the energy and because of the mineral in the universe that's also in the earth as well as in our bodies. When we began to make that connection, then we began also to understand that earth, if earth was evil and going to be destroyed, then why was it created in the first place? We must move to a place where we understand that when we talk about earth, is earth consciousness, is whether or not the earth consciousness is one with the consciousness of the universe, meaning the energy of both should be the same. When we are able to do that, to wrap our minds around the earth consciousness and the consciousness of the universe and seeing them as the same energy forces, that is when as above, so is below begins to manifest. When the scripture talks about a new heaven and a new earth, it's not talking about the destruction of the heavens and the earth, because heaven is not what we've been taught. It's talking about a clearer understanding of enlightenment and a clearer understanding of earth consciousness, which means that the energy forces have combined, or have recognized rather, that they are one and the same, and the functionality between the two is in unison as opposed to being one pulling against the other, pushing against the other. That is I think that has been shown in the last week when all the planetary bodies lined up for the first time in 1,000 years in sequence. As a matter of fact, the planetary bodies aligned themselves in the order of distance from the earth and from the sun. So I think that this is a message to us also, speaking to our desires for this balance. And I think when we pursue this, when we look at it from a deeper, not necessarily deeper, but from a position of desiring to understand what this means, then we will also understand who we are. We get a clearer picture of that, of who we are and our responsibilities and obligations as we are shown the benefits of embracing who you are. Questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you.
Speaking of balance, I have a question about what's the significance of Pope Benedict passing away?
I think it's huge. I want to see what someone else has to say. The Pope Benedict and Pope Francis were a beast with two heads, and meaning that there were two authorities with different views in the same place. And as quiet as it has been kept, there was an effort by Steve Bannon to play Pope Benedict against Pope Francis and split the church into two forms in an effort to get rid of Pope Francis, because Pope Benedict attitudes and belief systems were in line with those of Steve Bannon and so many other people around the world, like the president of Hungary, the group in Germany who sought to overthrow the government, as well as in this country, not the people who necessarily carried it out, but the people in leadership positions who got them riled up enough to make those attempts. So with the death of Pope Benedict, I see the demise of those thought patterns. I see the death of that this whole idea of white supremacy, this whole idea of world domination by Europeans, the whole concept of racism is in the throes of death itself. And so I see that the death of Pope Benedict being the shot that's fired across the bow that's bringing an end to this and bringing balance to the earth. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Does that help, Audrey?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it had something to do with the earth rebalancing itself, but I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
Okay, thank you. Nick, what do you say?
Yes. I just want to say thank you. Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to get us too far down this road, but has anyone been paying attention to sort of Kanye West over the last month or two? I bring that up just
Can't
because,
help it.
yeah, I bring that up because of the fact that he is a Black icon in a lot of ways, and his thinking affects a lot of other Black people. But I bring that up because in relation to what we've sort of just been talking about, he is searching for quote, the new heaven and a new earth, and he is searching for balance. But the thing that is preventing him from understanding what that could be and is throwing him into confusion and essentially chaos is the religion of Christianity. And I wanted to put that out there, that the religion of Christianity, as sort of created by the Europeans, by the Pope on down, is one of the last lines of defense that white supremacy has against you not being enslaved. So when Kanye West hits the wall of Christianity, all things get thrown into chaos, because that is the thing preventing him, and sort of him as a metaphor for Black people overall, preventing the transition to the promised land, so to speak. It is preventing the understanding that needs to take place before the new heaven and new earth, that new balance within self and with the earth can be achieved. And it doesn't need to be rejected by everyone, but it needs to be understood for what it is within the greater context of the spiritual nature of reality and our own spiritual identity and evolution. So whenever you see Kanye West, he's very much a canary in the coal mine, so to speak, for the types of mental hurdles that Black people overall, or well, in the United States anyway, anywhere they have been sort of colonized by this European version of religion. Kanye West is very much a sort of canary in the coal mine for the types of mental hurdles that will have to be overcome in order to remove the yoke of that form of enslavement, which is what it is. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Hey, Nick, can you summarize
see.
kind of what's happened? I've not paid him any attention for a good long while now, so I'm not sure what happened.
That's probably just a good thing. Yes, Kanye West has been recently going around to various radio shows the podcast, etc., with actual white supremacists, with literal Nazis. And his justification for that is that they're Christian, and whatever other his internal justification is, it doesn't matter. That's the main reason he's paying attention to any of them.
Okay.
And he has been saying a lot of anti-Semitic stuff, and basically just going as far down that rabbit hole as it is possible to go. I eventually think he'll attempt to correct himself, but it doesn't matter anymore. He's not coming back to sort of public life, I don't think, in any real capacity. But he has been, from my sense of what is going on, internally attempting to sort of project Christianity onto everyone and everything. And I even still give him some benefit of the doubt. Like, he's not trying to be sort of violent and oppressive in his vision for what the future should be, in the same way that the sort of European fascists are, but he's very confused, I would say. And the reason for that confusion is multi-layered. But the majority of it is his attempt to hold fast to the religion of Christianity as created by Europeans, as created by the Roman sort of imperial state. And he's not Catholic, but it doesn't matter. Like, if you're a Christian in the West, you're Catholic.
That's true. Yeah.
So
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, he's been going off the rails.
to put it lightly, yeah.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, with everything that's happening in the universe, is our life predestined? Because I don't think people wake up in the morning and say that, saying that, or just waking up in the morning, going through their daily routine, and then life brings them these particular situations. So is our life predestined?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to. There is no fate other than what you choose, and there is no destiny other than what you choose. Once you make a choice, you become subject to the what shall we call them? The forces of fate and destiny. But you can point yourself in whatever direction you choose to. So yes and no. Hope that helps.
Yeah, along the same lines, Nick, that predestination is in your hands. If you had predestination by the Creator, then that means you don't have free will. Your predestination is predicated on what choices you make and what journey you decide that you're going to travel. Does that help, Ellen?
I'm processing.
Okay. Simply put, you decide the destiny that you're going to have based upon your thoughts, based upon your choices, rather.
Is that setting your intent?
Yep.
Couldn't you also say, I'm sorry,
go ahead, Ron, because after we finish talking about predestination, I want to mention something.
well, I was just going to say, based on the answers that you guys have given, if you see it any other way as God predestined, isn't that a separation from who you are? can there be a God or a portion of God that does something outside of your will if you and He are one? So the thing that we think is predestined, we haven't we seen that as something external from who we really are? So if we are one with the Creator, does that set what is predestined? Whatever truth is becomes your destiny. No? Yes.
No,
I think it's a misinterpretation of the word predestined.
Yeah.
I do too.
We're all predestined in the sense that the Creator gives opportunity for everybody to come to know it. For everybody to follow the path to discover it. So it doesn't mean, we're predestined to be good or evil. It just means we're all predestined in that opportunity to discover the Creator.
Yeah, I like that. Makes sense.
Well, that references our sort of multi-life journey, that opportunity to discover who you are. If you don't get it in this lifetime, you come back. I mean, it is predestined, but it's a lot bigger than sort of one lifetime or one experience, right?
Right.
I would say right.
Which is something that was also mentioned in the Bible and those books of the Bible that they say you shouldn't read for some reason.
I have a question before Pastor comes on and summarizes or gives us another perspective. I'll miss you guys. What's happening with Israel and Netanyahu's newly minted government, and the division that's happening in the world of Judaism as it relates to the Jewish people here in the States versus Netanyahu. He's got a far right, several far right folk in his new government, and the Jewish people here say that they do not like that. They're opposed to it. They're opposed to the direction he's taking Israel. So if someone could give me a bird's eye view of what that's saying to us, and us meaning not us here in the United States, but us as part of the fabric of humankind, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
I'll jump in.
What?
I kind of see that as the beginning of his downfall. And it's a way for, we've been talking about balance. It's a way for Earth in terms of all of that perspective to come into balance. So I see it as part of his downfall.
I agree with you, Audrey. I see it also as exposure. But before I explain what I mean by that, I want to say this. For those of you who are on Zoom or on the phones, it may appear to you that we're talking more about history/politics than the scriptures. That's because we have been conditioned to believe that the scripture only talks about going to heaven or going to hell. as opposed to talking about the life that men live in this earth and the oppressive nature of the systems in this earth. Jesus dealt with those oppressive systems just as we are. And you cannot be free to express who you are if you don't believe who you are. And as long as I can keep you looking for heaven, I can keep you from believing that you are Elohim, which means that I can also control you. Having said that, I believe that the re-election of Netanyahu is definitely, as Audrey said, the beginning of his downfall. I think it's even broader than that. I believe that is also the downfall of Jews, period, in their selfish behavior and with their racist attitudes. Is it not evident that Kyrie Irving and Kanye get labeled with being anti-Semitic? Not Kanye, yes, of course, his attitude, the things he say. All Kyrie did was retweet a movie and said nothing about it. However, he did not write the movie. He did not produce it. He did not distribute it. So if Kyrie Irving is anti-Semitic because he retweeted it, then why is it that Jeff Bezos is not anti-Semitic because they sell it on Amazon? Why is it that the producers of it are not anti-Semitic? Why is it that only Black folk say something about Jews? They are anti-Semitic. Whenever Jews want to get rid of you, they label you as being anti-Semitic. Everyone is afraid to take that step. Ever since 1972, when I was in Gary, Indiana, in San Diego, Gary, Indiana, writing position paper for DC on the state of Israel. We got, there was an attempt to punish us for that. Matter of fact, the leader of the delegation lost his store. So what I'm saying is this: anti-Semitism is a weapon that is used to keep people from telling the truth about Israel and the actions of Israel, to keep people from telling the truth that the Eastern Europeans who occupy Palestine are not the original people who set into motion the standards of belief that is called Judaism. We are in a place where all of this is going to be brought to its knees with Netanyahu. The split between the Jews in this nation and those and the leadership in Israel is paramount. It's going to be seen clearer than what's happening in this nation. The Knesset in Israel is a body that actually is set to control the whole Middle East. The people who were there prior to, who were not pushed into the West Bank, or those who came from Ethiopia or in the Israeli army, none of them are in a position of leadership. But they are cannon fodder when Israel goes to war with Palestine, the Palestinians. So I see a direct connection between what's happening with Kanye, Kyrie, and anyone else who speaks the truth about Israel. I see a direct connection in anti-Semitism threats and Netanyahu. I do not see any difference between the JDL and Netanyahu. The JDL does what's convenient to keep control over everything that it seeks to control. If I mention the Holocaust of Africa, they look at me like I'm crazy, like it did not exist. As the thing that actually keeps them in power is their method of manipulation of the Holocaust. Yes, the Holocaust existed. Yes, there was a Jewish Holocaust, but that is not the only Holocaust that took place. And there is no mention of the fact that Auschwitz was liberated by a company of African Americans. The soldiers who freed them from Auschwitz were Black folks. And there is no mention of that at all. If you are genuine about your history, then you mention every aspect of it. You don't hide it and make it seem as though you were liberated by Europeans, because you wasn't. So I say all that to say I do indeed agree with Audrey, but I see it from a broader perspective. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Rev, could you give a little bit more insight on the Jewish Holocaust? Because it wasn't just Jews that Hitler got rid of. There were gypsies. And what little I know about gypsies, I've always associated them with those tarot card readings and psychic readings. And it just wasn't gypsies. It was people of color, blacks. Yet if you know something about that, Rev, could you speak on that a little bit for me, if you don't mind, or for us?
Yeah. Not only were the gypsies were primarily from Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europeans have never been accepted into the Western European community. Hitler also killed well over 100,000 Africans who were living in Germany. Some put the numbers at close to 1 million. He also killed homosexuals and anyone else who disagreed with him. But primarily, it was the Jews, it was the homosexuals, Romanians, and Africans. And virtually no one speak of the African Holocaust that took place in Germany under the authority of Hitler. If you are really in tune with, if you are really honest, rather, about what happened, you will all not only talk about the Jewish Holocaust, you will also talk about the rest of the people, the other people rather, who were exterminated along with the Jews. It's almost like the history is only spoken of in relationship to the Europeans who were killed, because the Jews who were killed were Europeans, and that the only people who is worthy of remembrance who died at the hands of tyrant like Hitler, the only ones who are worthy are Europeans. And that is the reason there is oversight with the gypsies and the Africans and the homosexuals. Also, If you look at it, this is nothing new because there is no, there's nothing really given about what took place in this country or any place in the world for that matter when it comes to Africans in particular and people of color in general. So what I know about that is what I've just offered to you. Probably some more I do, but it comes from questions rather. So George, I hope that helps you and everyone else. And if there are questions, please raise them. The wine does not come from the grape unless it's pressed.
I just wanted to pop in right quick and note that the word gypsy is actually a racial slur. And those are I think it's the Romani people. That was something I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that we would share that information when we had it. So just something that's good to know.
What's the word again, Shanice?
Thank you.
The Romani people, Romania.
No, the slur word.
From Romania.
Oh, gypsy is a racial slur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So all of this is designed
Okay.
for humanity from whatever perspective it sees itself. It's designed to show the oneness of it all. And until you can acknowledge that not only was I hurt, but you were hurt and you were hurt. And not only was I wronged, but you were wronged and you were wrong. Until we can acknowledge that, whether it's Jewish people or whether it's German or even in the United States, we will not see how we are all connected with each other and are one with each other until we begin to understand and share the pain of each other. Because until we can do that, I will always remain the other. I will always remain outside of whatever body is saying, "Oh, didn't we go through?" So, as you said, Pastor, with what's happening with Netanyahu and the Jews, they're seeing that there is division within each other, and it's not it is not the way it's supposed to be, not only within each other, but with other people in the world.
I think also that this is representative of what we do, because regardless of how long it has been since you did something to someone, it's coming back. And the way that the Eastern European went into Palestine, renamed it Israel with the blessings of the rest of the European world, and actually evicted people from their homes and left them in the streets and began to wage war against them with what is the guy's name? One of the prime ministers of Israel, who invented the car bomb and used it to drive the Palestinians out of what we call Israel. So that comes back to you. And I do believe that this evilness, this brutality, the barbaric way that they treated and are still treated Palestinians, they're going to have to pay for that in a big way, the same way that America has to pay for what it's done. And payback is not killing anybody. The thing that irritates Europeans the most is when they cannot have their way or cannot rule the world. Removing imbalance, bringing balance to the earth is the most irritating thing that Europeans can ever encounter. So when I talk about payback for this, I'm not anyone, I'm not talking about starving. I am talking about showing them who they are in the mirror and rendering them toothless. Like Mitch McConnell, the best thing could happen to him is for him to lose his power. Not die, but just lose his power. And then really see that the emperor has no clothes. I'm done.
Quick question from Ms. Barbara. When you stated we ought to see each other as one and we're all connected, which one come first, the chicken or the egg? In the group that I roll with, small group, whatever their concern is my concern. Whatever their happiness is my happiness. So to be connected as one, do you have to experience a person's happiness? Then you take on their concerns, or do you take on the concerns to get to the happiness? You follow what I'm saying, Ms. B?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It is a decision. We were talking about the choices we make, which creates our destiny. It is a decision once we understand who we are, that every person has that same divinity within them. And so I choose to do the right thing based on that divinity that's part of who they are, as it is who I am. And everything else can follow. I mean, I don't have to sit down to dinner with you first to be able to do that. I don't have to go to Mar-a-Lago and sit down with Trump and Kanye and Nick Fuentes to understand that there is divinity within all three of them. But that doesn't keep me from yearning for them to find that divinity within themselves, because when they do that, they will see themselves as me as well.
Hey, appreciate you, Ms. B. Once you said divinity, it kind of connected it for me. Yeah, because of what you said by way of divinity, I'm a little bit better than that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, it's Ron. I have a question. I wanna back up on something we said. The part that Nick went into about Kanye, kind of, is he? What's the big picture there? What is motivating here? Him? Is he an agent for something else? What is that? Is he a part of the universe trying to hold on or trying to ignite Christianity? I'm just curious, why him? Why would he?
I think I can go
that
into
part.
that. I think it's just a blend of the things that make Kanye. And I think underneath it all is the unwillingness to allow other people to tell him what to think. And there's a negative side to that and a positive side to that. And he is trying to break into, I believe, on like a subconscious level, the positive side of that. And not just for himself, but also for sort of what he is creatively responsible for. But he doesn't know how, I don't think.
The reason I think he does know how is what you mentioned earlier, is because he is making an effort to do it through European Christianity. And that's not going to work. Now, I also think he's an agent for change. look at what's happened. The discussion about anti-Semitism is becoming a common thing now. And people are beginning to take notice that only Black people and powerless white people are labeled anti-Semitic. Trump was never labeled anti-Semitic, as was Kanye and Kyrie. And he voiced his anti-Semitism quite frequently and still does. But it's not only him, Hawley.
I think we lost.
Are the
Pastor
ones
Richmond.
who
Oh, there you are.
yeah, they are the ones who is actually lost my thought. Oh, the white supremacists are the ones who are the major anti-Semitics, and they don't get nowhere near the play as did Kyrie. He lost his position basketball. They suspended him. However, do you think for a minute that Fuentes and the others who are leadership in these white supremacist organizations, do you think for a minute that they don't work for Jews? Somebody does. If not all of them, some of them do. So how come they have not been terminated because of anti-Semitism? So why is it that those who are running for office, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and the rest of them, who are anti-Semitic, how come they didn't do ads against them about their attitudes of anti-Semitism? Those are answers that I would love to hear. Thank you.
The very
have a
Ms.
nature.
Long,
I'm sorry, I yield.
I yield.
The very-
I'm going in a direction. Go ahead.
The very nature of the slogan Christian nationalism negates other religions. And so anyone who even uses that espouses anti-Semitism, racism, anti-ethnicity. It's against any other religion if you say that you're a Christian nationalist.
I agree with you, Bob.
I have a question. So, is religion the thief that the Bible talks about that comes to kill, steal, and destroy? Is that the same concept?
Yes. And the reason I say yes is because the support for our colonialism, the support for slavery, the support for what Columbus did in the islands to the Anahuacs, and what the English did to the Native Americans in this country. Yes, all of it is based on religion, and therefore I do believe that religion is the culprit that gives life to the thief who has come to steal, kill, and to rob. Thank you.
Well, one observation I have of Kanye is this. I think he wants to, in the things that he says, I think one of Kanye's downfalls is he's always been the smartest one in the group, not out of arrogance, and he doesn't want to be the smart one in the group. What I mean by that, because I know people that know him. Smartest one in the group is he's making beats in the studio, and he got people smoking reefer around him. He don't smoke reefer. And he's trying to tell them, look, stop smoking the reefer. We gonna need you for the struggle. It's messing up your head. And I think he has a brilliant mind, and my wish is, excuse me, I'm working, y'all, is that he finds an arena like Greater New Faith or Greater New Faith or like Foundation or Foundation. I think he wants some of the things he has stated. I do the exact same thing. I say something crazy, and if a spiritual minded designated hitter is around me, I'm going to say something crazy so that spiritual minded designated hitter can knock us all in. That can be Miss Cassie, that can be ST. So I think his downfall has been he doesn't want to be the smartest one in the group. He wants to be the sheep that follows good leadership. And remember the things Kanye has said. That joker jumped on TV, live TV, and stated George Bush don't like black folk. When they interviewed George Bush and they asked him about his time as being president, what disturbs you most? That's what he said. That the United States that I cover, black people think I don't like them. So my wish for him is that he gets into an arena like Greater New Faith and Foundation, or get in this. If he was rolling with us,
That's not his
he
purpose.
would know how to. Rev, that's your opinion. That's mine.
No,
I
no.
think he got a brilliant mind.
I think you got a brilliant mind. However, this is not about opinion. That's the problem with religion. It's opinionated. Let's deal with the reality. Simply because he's on the journey that he's on, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have purpose being on that journey, even though he may not recognize it. If his purpose for being on that journey is no more than the discussion we're having right now, it is a noble purpose, even though it doesn't appear that way. Exposing things is what he's doing. How he's doing it is hurtful. Yes, he's searching for something. Everyone is, and don't even realize it. Searching for something. Kanye does have a brilliant mind, but the term "the smartest one in the room," I don't think that's ever applicable. And the reason I don't is because the smartest one in the room is relative, and the relativity of it renders it of none effect. So to say that is to diminish everyone else who's in the room, and I don't believe that those of us who know who we are have a right to do someone like that, or to label someone like that. Excuse me. Now, as far as what's going on in the room when he's laying down beats, he may as well be smoking because he got contact. So one way or the other, it doesn't matter. So the point of the matter with Kanye is that Kanye is a part of the exposure. What is he exposing? Not only is he exposing the duplicity of Jews when it comes to anti-Semitism, but he's also exposing how far religion, Christianity in particular, has pulled people out of the stream of spirituality. There were Africans who owned plantations, who owned slaves in South Carolina. Matter of fact, one of the largest ones that was owned by an African was in South Carolina. And I see Kanye as being no different when he's with Fuentes. Why would you be with somebody who thinks you're an animal? Something has to be wrong with your self-esteem for you to do that. Why would you try so hard to be accepted by a group of people who don't want you? Why? Is it because you are ashamed of who you are in terms of your ethnicity? Are you ashamed of your skin? Are you ashamed of, and you want so desperately to be like the oppressor until you begin to oppress or be in the midst of those who oppress people who look like you? What kind of mindset does that take? It certainly doesn't take a mindset of being the smartest one in the room, even though his mind is brilliant when it comes to business. But it's not when it comes to humanity. It really isn't. That's the relativity of it. And if there are questions about that, please raise them. And I hope, George, that you can see that we don't deal with opinions. We look at what's happening, and we look at it in relationship to the scripture and history. And that's how we are looking at Kanye and anyone else, according to the scriptures and history itself. God, excuse me. So I don't want us to think that this is opinionated. And you stated that you say things that's crazy. Well, the times that we are living in, and the task that we have been given, is too important for us to just say crazy things. Everything should be genuine. You don't have to say crazy things to get an answer or to get a discussion going. Just raise a question. And the reason I say that this is too important for that is because we do not have room for failure. And we do not have space for time that could be utilized in a more positive way. You don't have to do that. You are well read. I know it, and most of the people on the phone know that. And you have the ability to raise questions to get answers without having to resort to being antagonistic or being challenging by way of saying something crazy simply because you can. If you can say something crazy simply because you can, then you know that you can also raise questions as you have done in the past, and you made answers for everyone. I'm done. Thank you.
Well, Rev, and to the body of the people on the phone, this is my stance on this. With the advancement of spirituality or the catapulting of spirituality, I do believe that there going to have to be some people out here willing to do some dirty work. I say dirty work. I'm not associating that with dirty play.
What's dirty work?
Dirty work is, I saw an interview with Rasheed Wallace, and they were asking him about his experience with the Detroit Pistons forever, how long he was there. And they stated to him, in one season in Portland, you got more technicals in one season than you did your whole entire stay with Detroit. And he said, I was finally on a team where someone would protect me. He said, when I was with Portland, I had to be judge, jury, and execution. I had to be the bully of the team. I had to arbitrate the team. I had to go against Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, Karl Malone. He said, when I got to Detroit, Ben Wallace protected me. So sometimes and that's just only from a sports analogy. If you look at Emmitt Smith, he's the leading rusher. How many yards you think he got behind Larry Allen doing that dirty work for him? Now, dirty play, by way of a sports analogy, dirty play, that's Larry Bird going up for a jump shot and Bill Laimbeer put his foot up
George,
under him.
we have these spiritual analogies. I want you to relate, the sports analysis. I want you to relate that to spirituality.
Sometimes you need it, Rev.
No.
Sometimes you need it.
I'm asking you.
You look at you, Rev. I'll answer it. The young man Chris Darden.
Hey,
he was going to represent.
Roy, give me an example of dirty work that's spiritual, not sports, not natural, not human in terms of physicality. Give me dirty work spiritually.
Dirty work spiritually. Chris Darden was going to represent the young man that gunned down Nipsey Hussle. Now, by him doing dirty work, representing a guy to plead insanity.
George,
it's on video.
No. We are back into physical manifestation. Give me an example of spiritual work, or spiritual dirty work, or however it is. What is dirty work? If that's all I want. I don't want to hear about Nipsey Hussle. I don't want to hear about.
Rev, I can't give one. I can't give one. However, I may need some help with this. Miss Evelyn, Miss Barbara, Miss Kathy, Ron. Someone. Are you Reverend Richard?
Allow me. Give you some help, and everyone else can chime in when they want to. But I can't like that. I really do. But the spiritual dirty work doesn't exist. The only spiritual dirty work that we can point to is religion making itself, presenting itself rather, as being spiritual, but on the other hand, is harboring hatred and greed towards everyone who don't look like the ones who originated this thing called Christianity. That's the only spiritual dirty work I can see. And if there's anyone else, the people you have named or others, who can see it differently or than I, or see it as I do, or see it as George does, please give me an example of that, or at least make a statement or raise a question. Anyone.
I'm wondering if this isn't. I don't know if I'm interpreting dirty work correctly, but I'm thinking of something that needs to be done that maybe other people don't want to do, or could get you labeled negatively or something like that. And the only thought I had was Judas, maybe. And people talk really bad about him, but from what I understand, he performed something that needed to be done.
And it wasn't dirty work.
Okay.
It wasn't dirty work. What would make that dirty work? And I don't want us to really get into the Judas story, because when you look at the real interpretation of the Judas story, then you begin to see something. Even in the English translations of the scriptures, there are contradictions in the Judas story that doesn't make sense. But when you look at it from the original, it tells a different story than the Judas story.
Mm.
And it also tells a different story about how the crucifixion took place. But we
Mhm.
just don't want to get into that.
Well, now, of course, I want to get into it, but at another time, of course.
Yes.
I wanted to say something about the concept of dirty work. I have to agree with Pastor Richard. There's no, as the empires don't fall as a result of any sort of physical fighting, in the same way that the British Empire was kicked out of India, in the same way that the civil rights movement in the United States was conducted for the most part non-violently. Anything that we could choose to do out of selfish ego, or any physical action that we could take out of fear or anger, etc., especially that which would cause harm to anyone. And not that I'm saying that's even necessarily what you only meant by dirty work, but that should not be considered spiritual, but only egotistical. The only dirty work spiritually I could see us doing is investigating the dirtiness of ourselves, and learning how to clean that out. That is as close as I think it gets to, quote, dirty work when it comes to our spiritual development. But the only other thing you could take, or only action you could take spiritually, is just to not be afraid to speak the truth as you understand it, based on your own spiritual sort of development, based on your own knowledge of how the world works, etc. That is the sort of only uncomfortable thing that you, or that we, I believe, can effect on other people when it is appropriate to do so. So I would say to that, just be aware of where your action comes from, because if it comes from some sense of necessary evil, quote unquote, there's no necessary evil. Unfortunately, as our egos would probably like it to be the case, but there isn't any. I'm done.
I will say this in conclusion, Rev. I appreciated everyone answer. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
This is right. I want to readdress something, if you guys will, if you no other questions on this subject that we're on now. A while back, a few weeks ago, we talked about the passing of the Queen, and we look now at this Pope. There is another Pope still in place, but those two figureheads represents thousands of years of tyranny and oppression and everything else. What do you see that they have in common? What is it? How do those things tie together? And what is it that we are to see from that?
I see from that there is no difference between the English royalty and the Catholic ecclesiastical body. I don't see any difference between the two. Both of them are based on greed. of them are based on racism. Both of them are misogynistic. When you look at Catholicism, it supported slavery. It profited from slavery. The Crusades, Catholics, also went into Britain and forced people to submit to Catholicism. And the pushback came from, I think it's King George I. And with that pushback, the Church of England was established because King George saw the benefits of the church. And what he saw as a benefit was the way the Catholics forced you to pay into the Catholic treasure. And he did the same thing with the Church of England, and he profited from the church that he established. Not only that, but he also started pushing into other lands and colonizing people and robbing them of their wealth, just as the Catholic Church did. One did it in the name of the British throne, and the other one did it in the name of Jesus. But both of them did the same thing. The most dominant one was Catholicism because they have been freed from criticism. They have avoided criticism, rather, for what they have done. They've never paid a price for what they've done. Not just the recent things with the molestation of children, the sexual advantage that they took of primarily the boys. They've never paid for that. And that was going on since Martin Luther, if you read the true story of why Martin Luther left the Catholic Church. The Holocaust, the whole Jewish Holocaust could not have taken place without the help of the Catholic Church, because the Eastern European states, rather, or papal states, Catholics ruled those states, and the role they played in the Holocaust was major, and that is the reason that they helped the Nazis get out of Europe and go primarily to South America by printing false documents for them. So I don't see a difference between what happened with the royal bodies in England and the Catholic Church itself. And on another note, you do not hear those accusations being made by Jews towards the Catholic Church for the role that they played in the Holocaust. Thank you. And I hope that helps, Roy.
Yes, sir. Does
Rev ought to. Whoever was about to go, you. Oh, thank you, boss. Rev, with the conversation on spirituality, in Deion Sanders' activity of a head coach of a predominantly black school or Division II school, any significance of that we can tie into spirituality, or it really doesn't have anything to do with spirituality? And that's open to anyone.
Yes. Be careful what you say God told you to do. If God sent him to Jackson State to bring HBCUs back into the limelight and give them playtime on TV, and he said God brought him there to build HBCUs, but the first time he got an offer to D1 school, what did he do? He left. Did God tell him to leave? He never said that God told him to leave. But he did say God told him to come there. So be careful what you say that God told you. Religion gives you free rein with that. Spirituality doesn't. I hope that helps.
Rev, say that one more time. What spirituality will not allow you to do and what religion allows you to do. One more time for me, please.
Religion allows you to play with God like that, what God said to do. Spirituality does not do that. Spirituality deals with reality. It doesn't create reality. It deals with reality, what's in front of me. Spirituality says, if you say that I am being led to go to this school, then there's staying power with spirituality. And let me give you an example of that. When I stood in front of the congregations that I cover and said to them that what I have been preaching and teaching you is wrong. I have been preaching to you and teaching you what I have been told, not what I knew. And I promise you, from this day forward, if it's not in the scriptures, I will not talk about it. Spirituality gave me the staying power because I had to endure abuse from people who I thought were my friends, abuse from the higher echelons of the ecclesiastical order of the Baptist and Methodist Church. And I never went back on what I told them God has shown me. I didn't understand as I do now. I never walked away from it, even though I had every opportunity to, especially with the offer from TBN. I knew that was not what I was supposed to be. So if I had taken that offer, then the question would have been, did I tell myself that and put it on God? Or did I justify it by saying God said it? The reality of that is it was the spiritual unicity with my Creator that gave me the strength, that gave me the intestinal fortitude to persevere in the face of that adversity that I was enduring. That's the difference. And if there are any questions from anyone about that, please raise them. But that's the difference. Thank you.
Well, Rev, one more question. When you say spirituality has staying power, Watson, when you say spirituality has staying power, although Deion Sanders has migrated to another school, has the spirituality left? Or does it, I know you don't mean spirituality staying power is a designated date number. What do you mean by spirituality has staying power?
When you are committed to knowing who you are and following the energy of our Creator, regardless of where it carries you, nothing can move you. It may shake you, but it doesn't destroy you. It may challenge you, but it does not change the trajectory of your journey. You stay there, regardless of how you treat it. People are withdraw themselves from you because you don't fit their mold. It is this power of the spirituality of the spirit that you know you are, that keeps you moving. Even when lies are told on you, you keep it moving. You don't address it. If you are in the face of religion, I'm going to pray for you. You may talk about me now, but I'm going to talk about you on my knees. That's religion. That's BS. And that's why it's so easy to walk away from something that you said, that our Creator told you to do. There's no doubt in my mind that the Creator told me to travel this journey. And the things that I have seen are awesome. From the day that I laid on my face and sought guidance as to whether or not I should go to a seminary because I've been pressured to go, I heard the words just clear as I'm hearing your voice. I will teach you. And that was the end of my desire to go to seminary. I've been put out of the seminary as a guest, but I've never been enrolled into one because I understand that seminaries are places of indoctrination that are supported by religion so that the oppression of others can continue into the future. I hope that's clear, George.
Appreciate you.
Anyone else? I know we've talked a lot today. A lot has been said. About 11:30 or so, there was Pastor alluded to earlier an article that I was really fascinated by, and he sent the article out to the teachers to look at, and I was hoping to get into that just a little bit today. Are you guys are we full? Have you eaten enough today? Do you want to pick up tomorrow and look at that? I just I like to briefly talk about it if we had time, but if we don't today, that's fine. We can talk about it tomorrow. Where are you?
Ron, that was going to be my next question. Where are we? Not with what you just said, but I would like for you guys, if you will, please address where are we now as far as with the times and what's happening in society. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone?
I think I need to address that.
I think so too.
Where are we? We are standing on the edge of a bridge. When we step off of this bridge, we'll be in a new year. But more importantly, we will be in a new place of understanding. We go from day to the last day in this year to the first day in the next year. And there may be those of you who say that that's just coincidental. There are no coincidences, especially when you know who you are and you seek to be one with the universe. We are ending the period where we said in 2011, December, humanity will not end, not on our watch. And that was in reference to the Mayans and other indigenous people who had predicted the end of humanity as we know it, if there was not someone who would seek to bring balance to the earth. And we chose to take that mantle on ourselves. We are at the end of that journey to bring the necessary tools into the macro for the purpose of bringing balance. Those tools are available to anyone who is seeking something different or something better. Anyone who is confused and is truly seeking to understand so they can move away from confusion. spiritual tools, and they are available. And we have seen the hands of our Creator with this issue of COVID. And there is no way that this was not a divinely orchestrated event because of the nature of it and because of the effects of it. Just as abruptly as it showed up, it will leave the same way. Now that we are crossing this bridge, it is a golden opportunity for us to dispense with our hopes, begin to embrace what we know. There are no longer hopes along this journey that we're about to take. It's all about knowing. It's all about seeing. It's seeing what's happening behind the scene, meaning that what you see with your eyes is not the real picture. What you see with your eye is the real picture. We're going to have experiences that we've never, ever thought we would have. The things that we are going to experience and see, the things that we are going to discuss, are going to be things that we never, ever heard of. Why? Because now that the tools are there, we must build something using those tools. And it is our obligation to build a new earth consciousness, to bring into this realm order, so that the same energy that maintains the universe is the energy that guides us, relieving us of the belief that we guide ourselves. We must relinquish our desires, relinquish our free will to the only entity that can deal with our free will in a proper spiritual manner. And that is relinquishing it to our Creator, so that we can be taught what it looks like, what the experiences are when we are building. We are building on the basis of a desire for balance. We are building a new attitude. So look for these things in the coming days, in the coming weeks. Look for an upsurge in racism, in misogyny, in greed, in religious antics, religion pushing to be embraced again. Look for those things in the coming weeks. And when you see those things in the coming weeks, what you're going to begin to experience is the demise of all of that. It's going to begin to fade away. Don't look at what the talking heads on TV are telling you. Don't listen to that. Hear from the depth of your soul and see from the eye that's deep in your brain. And when that happens in combination, that is when we will begin to see the manifestation of balance in this earth. Our desires cannot be to get even with anyone or see the death of anyone. Our desire is to see the death of ideals that oppress humanity, not the people. The people are here for us to change humanity. They are not here to die. They are here for us to change humanity. When we feel this environment of earth consciousness based upon the energy of the universe, we will experience balance like we've never seen before. And yes, the doors of Christian churches are going to be slammed shut. The pews are going to be dusty for want of someone to sit on them. The pulpits are going to cry out because they will not be able to support themselves. The methods that are used for manipulation, religious manipulation, and or political manipulation will be exposed for what they are. The idea of making people feel good is not going to work anymore. They're not going to feel anything that they have experienced the feeling of in the past because of the tools that's out there. The people are searching for balance. And what they call a search for everyone to love each other is a search for balance. That balance comes from those who are the most forgiving people on the face of the earth. Without the power of forgiveness, without the power of love and kindness, there is no balance. Look inside of yourself and see if you love yourself. And if you find love for yourself, then you will find love for those around you regardless of their attitudes towards you, regardless of what they say about you. Whether it be a Mitch or Trump, it doesn't matter. Your love for them must be felt in the depth of your soul, not in your mind, not from your lips, from the depths of your soul. You have to express love for them because love is the covering for a multitude of entanglements, a multitude of hatred. Love covers hatred. It is the covering for all of those things that have brought disorder to humanity. Yes, we understand the history of how we got to where we are in this earth. We understand that the Europeans are the ones who are responsible for the destruction that we are experiencing in this earth. Yet, at the same time, they are present with us to strengthen us so that we can strengthen them. Not be the perpetrators as they were, but to strengthen them. The blame game is over. The universe has given us this garden that we live on, this garden that we call Earth, for the purpose of generating a crop of humans that will love each other like they've never done before. The reason that people of color are not loved by Europeans is because Europeans don't love themselves. And the lesson, above all lessons, that we must teach, that we must manifest, is a love for yourself. And when we do that, this energy of love will touch the hearts of those, well, let me be frank with you, will touch the hearts of those Europeans and those who are trying to be European. And when their hearts are touched, it will give opportunity for the love that we have put into the macro. Touch them. And when you find love in the depth of your soul, that means that you are pregnant with love and kindness. It's time to birth it in no uncertain terms. Our language must change as we cross this bridge. Our attitudes must change as we cross this bridge. Just like you cannot keep one foot on this side of the bridge and one foot on the other side of the bridge, you will not be able to keep one foot in the house of religion and another foot in the house of spirituality. You have to make a choice who you are going to submit to. The universe has presented itself to us. Are we going to submit to that energy of divinity, or are we going to submit to that energy of religiosity that's on the other side of this river? That's the choice that we have to make. And just because you're not going to a building doesn't mean you're not holding on to religion. Your pure desire must be bring humanity to a place of unicity, that everyone on this earth can experience divinity within. Thank you. And I hope that answers your question. If not, please raise another.
It did, Pastor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Thank you, sir.
2023 will be a year of the last few years have been years of exposure. This is going to be a year where manifestations begin. Okay, Ron?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. A very lively discussion today.
I missed that last thing. A manifestation of what?
Pastor,
Manifest.
can you repeat?
But I said, the last few years have been the years of exposure. The years to come is going to be the years of manifestation. And what have we desired? What manifestations have we been building towards? The manifestation of loving kindness, manifestation of balance. Does that help?
Yes.
Does that help? Hello?
I'm here.
Yes, that helps. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good, y'all. Okay. Well, it's about time for us to draw this into a close anyway. Pause, rather. I don't like close. We'll pause here and pick up tomorrow at 11 a.m. And for those of you who may be venturing out tonight, have a good time and be careful. And everyone, look forward to seeing you on the lines tomorrow. Thank you for all the questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be careful out there.
Happy New Year.
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year.
New
Happy New Year.